Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Eve Clown. I'm here with Stucco Software. We are in week 2 of our series called Pocket Change, where we are building an entire app end to end on stream, documenting the process and writing it all down, sharing it as we go. Last week, if you watched the playback or were able to join us, we just did the really basic talk about what we're doing. We're making an app called Pocket Change, which is sort of a budgeting app. We set up our basic CI/CD software development lifecycle pipeline. We deployed it to a netlify function, and we set up a custom domain because domains are really important in the Stucco software world. You gotta have them. They're important. So, if you missed that, you can go back and watch it. What are we doing this week? Well, this week we are adding authentication and access control. Auth-ac, as we say in the biz. Oh, hold on, my mustache is looking a little weird here. Makeup. All right, there we go. Is that better? All right, looks a little better. Oh, I'm out of mustache wax. I didn't budget appropriately. It's why we need this application. So, if you know anything about Netlify or Vercel or Cloudflare Pages or whatever, these are ways of hosting websites with no servers. There's no servers at all. There are edge functions or serverless functions, which are just little stateless guys that run when they get a request. But there's not like a computer somewhere running our program waiting for requests to respond to. That's not how these things work. They could even just be a static HTML web server like Apache or something. And that means there's no persistent memory, there's no data store or database yet. It's just like a single function which gets a request and returns an HTML file. And how are we going to put access control and authentication on something like that? Because if you know, you need like a database for your users, and you need to put your user information somewhere, and it's like la-dee-da, lots of work. Now, what a lot of people do for these sorts of applications, which sometimes are called jam stack, like a stack of sticky jam pancakes, is they just use a database as a service. Something like Supabase. Supabase is good. It's great. Or Firebase, which was good, and now Google bought it, and now it's a Google thing. So, whatever. But what you're doing there is you don't have an application with no backend. You have an application where you're renting somebody else's backend, and it's still your problem. You still have to keep track of your users. You still have to keep track of their passwords, and you're just using other people's stuff to do it in your program. So what we like to think about with Stucco software is what we call a post-platform application. And what does that mean? Well, like I just talked about, in a traditional platform style of application, you had to keep track of all your user stuff. You had to keep track of all your user data. You had to worry about that getting breached. And then you had to send everyone an apologetic email being like, hey, sorry, we had a data breach and all your DMs are in the hands of hackers. It's a sort of a bad scene. So let's not do that. No, thank you. We'll do something else. What we do is find a way to take the application part away from the data part. We separate the application layer, the bit of the program that does stuff, with the identity and data storage layer, which is the bit of the program that remembers stuff and knows who you are. It remembers who you are and knows about your stuff. So in this new world, we have two different bits of the puzzle, right? One bit is, I'm an application and I do stuff. And the other bit is, I know who you are and I remember about your stuff. And this is good because, sorry man, it's mustache again. It's really unruly. This is good because that means that you can have one account, one identity for you, eveclown.stuccosoftware.software. And I can take that to any application I want that plays nice in this post-platform world. There aren't many of those, if I'm being honest, but there are some, and we're making more. Our friend Noel DeMartin in Barcelona is making a bunch of really cool ones. Go check those out. So, what that means is we need to have a way to give people their logins and a place for them to have their data store. And that could be its own service, right? So at Stucco Software, what we've done is we've created one of these things that we call Solid ID, because it's solid, it's a good thing. Also, that's the protocol that we're using, but we can talk about that later, don't even worry about it. So what this is a non-profit, because Stucco Software is a non-profit tech studio. It is a cooperatively run identity and storage provider. So when you're a member of this identity and storage provider, you get your login, you get your server somewhere that holds all your data, and that's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. It just hangs on to your stuff for you and knows who you are. So we're gonna use this provider, and we're going to use Nick's login because he still hasn't turned mine on yet because we're not quite public yet to the general hoo-has and something about being not a real human, which is frankly hurtful. But we're going to use that. We're going to integrate that to our Pocket Change application, and then we can log in. It's going to be great. Okay, let's see if I can figure out OBS here. Okay, let's see. That button right here. Let's see. Okay. Oh shoot. Okay. Okay, we get it. It surprises me every time to see my face on here, my big camera on my screen. So exciting. Okay, so last week we created our Pocket Change application right here. Here's our logs from last week. That was pretty great. Sort of simple, but there you go. Excuse me, my cough's better, but still not 100%. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is create what is called the client ID. Now this is a JSON document that talks about what your application is and what it should be allowed to do and where it's at, and we're just going to paste it in there. This is like a default thing. It just wants this. It has some redirect URLs that show where the application's allowed to go, and we want to put this up on the public web here on our Pocket Change website, pocketchange.stucco.software. So we'll copy that in, put it right here, and here's the path. The client ID is the URL to this JSON document. We'll name it Pocket Change, and we'll put the redirect URIs in here. That localhost one is for development, but we're also going to want one for production. So there's the redirect after we log in successfully. And this is just sort of like basic plumbing, and you need to do it before anything works. So we just sort of start with this. When we log out, we can go back here. These redirect URLs are to prevent like bad actors from sneaking into your program and stuff. All right, so we're gonna add that to our repository. I'm having a hard time typing this morning. All right, we push that up to main. Now, like we saw last week, what that's gonna do is start a new deploy on Netlify. There it is, going right now. We're just going to push that JSON document straight to production, push to main, trunk-based development. All right, that's going to build. Should go faster. So slow. Maybe we can go in there and see what's going on. All right, what's going on here? All right, it's going. SvelteKit is a compile time framework. So it has like a build step. Sometimes take a little bit, but there we go. Now we should be deployed. Let's go see if it's there. Here's our production, pocketchange.stucco.software. We go to /clients.json. Okay, there it is. Now this is live on the public internet because we need our Solid ID provider to be able to see it. And if it's on our computer, the public internet cannot see it. All right, so what's next? All right, we gotta do some environmental variables so we can differentiate between our local environment and our production environment. Because if we're on local, it doesn't help to get redirected to production where none of our code is. And if we're on production, we don't want to get redirected to local where the internet can't see it. All right, so we're going to do public client ID, which is the URL that we just grabbed from our public JSON file. The public host, which is like where the app is running. Like, is this on localhost, which it will be for us now, or is this on somewhere else? Okay, and then the default provider we're going to use. I'm going to have a shot here. Okay, so this is login.stucco.software, which is the provider URL for Stucco ID. And we're going to put that in the env.example with the default values, so you guys can do your own if you want. And then in the .env for our own application values. All right, add the JSON client there. Yeah. This is either your dev environment or not the dev host. That's not quite the right word for it. About the environment host, and then whatever your default provider is going to be, which for us will be login.stucco.software, but for you can be whatever you want. Now we can handle any kind of provider we want, not just the default one, but we're going to start simple. All right, let's add that env.example. Don't commit your env file to your repo, kids. You get yelled at. Okay, what's next here? Let's put those into Netlify so we're just all queued up. So when we're ready to go, we can just see it work and not have to be like, oh, it doesn't work. Oh, I forgot the environmental variables. Oh, we're redirecting to local. Ah, it's annoying. All right, so we're just gonna grab this value here and dump it in there. Okay. Let's grab this. All right, we want that. Make sure that's the host, not local anymore, and that will be our redirect zone. And now our two environments have environment variables. They know where they're supposed to go. They know who they are. That's not, I want that. And life is good. Okay. All right, now we can start writing code. Hooray, code. We all love code. All right, what's first? All right, start our development server so we can see what's going on. Go to localhost 5173, which is the development port, and there's our application. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a file for the svelte state. This is going to be called session.state.svelte. And what this is going to do is it's going to know who the client session is, so the rest of the application can do stuff with that information, like render conditionally and things like that. So we will create a client session state object like this, and that's going to have a data property on it like that. Okay, why are we doing that? Let's have a look right here at the Svelte docs. How do these state thingies work? So these are how you define reactive two-way binding thingies. We're going to have to pass this around to other modules. So you can see here in their own documentation that you have to do something a little bit different. You have to like set it on a subproperty and then expose that. So we're going to set that up. It works pretty good. Okay, we're going to have a function here for set session that takes the user object. That's going to set the data property to the user object and return the client session. So that way when we have a successful login, we can attach it to the session and then start doing stuff with it right away in our application. Okay, what's next? All right, let's go into our layout here and create a navigation bar. Hello, I am a nav bar. Now, what does that look like? It looks like that. Okay, the layout wraps up everything underneath it. So all the pages are going to get this nav. Let's have a link to the home page called bucket change. Logo in the top left corner, as is traditional. And then we're going to have a login button, which will take us to the authentication page. There it is. Okay, let's spread that out a little bit so it's not all clumped up. Logo in the top left and login in the top right. Okay, flex is good for this. And then we can just space them out. Easy peasy. Still can't type today, but whatever. Okay, space between. How's that look? That looks great. Okay, over there's the login button. Over there's the logo button. Let's look at the console here. Make our screen a little narrower so we have nothing on it. Okie dokie. What's next? Now we should change our login button to be a log out button if we're logged in, if that makes sense. So we'll pull in our client session state object. Okay, got that here. Session.svelte.js. And then we are going to wrap this in one of Svelte's templating block conditionals if client session.data.info it is logged in. Because sometimes you can get your client session data, but you're logged in false. So we've got to check if you're actually logged in. And then if that's the case, we'll show the login button, and then otherwise we'll show the log out button. And then log out we'll deal with later. Ignore that. TK. We'll get there. Okay. These sunk not exist, so we'll do optional method properties there. Oh no, what happened? Session.svelte.js. Session.svelte.js, that looks right. Oh, where did our file go? It's not in there. Where is it? Oh, it's in the stock. Gotta move that. Jeez, okay. Alright, let's put it in the right directory because, you know, frameworks have opinions. Alright, that should work. Let's make sure that that's gonna work. Okay. Oh no, what's going on? It's still not working. Session.svelte.js. It's not there. It should be there. We just put it there, didn't we? What's going on here? Oh, we didn't. Session.state.svelte. That's not right. Session.svelte.js. There we go. Oh no, it's still not right. What's going on? Copy that. Okay. Copy that. Oh, that's not right. That looks okay. This is what the problem is when your head is full of foam. Oh, okay, it works. There it goes. Okay, so there is, looks backwards though. So we put the log in button when we are not logged in and the log out button when we are logged in. Okay. Okay, we did it. Okay, so that's a 404. We're going to need a page there. Let's put a page there next. Okay. Well, Svelte has a file system-based router, so we'll create a new folder for auth, and then create a new file for the page in auth. Okay. Let's make sure that is working correctly. Auth. Okay, so log in to the auth page. There it is, auth. Okay, so now we need to do stuff. What do we need to do? How do we actually log in? Let's make a little UI first. I'm a UI first type developer. So put a better H1 in there. Put a better H2 in there. Sign in with Stucco Software Solid ID and a button that says like sign in. Sounds good. Okay, sign in with Solid ID. Now, the whole point of all this is that you can use any one of these providers. You don't need to use Solid ID. So let's put a spot in here that says like sign in with other providers. You can put anybody you want in here. There's a bunch of them being hosted all over the place, and you can bring any provider to any application, and that's the magic. So to do that, we would accept a form that would say provider and then sign in, and then we'd have a bunch of other logic to do that. We'll do that later. Just delete that. Get out of here. One day we'll do it, not today. It's not that hard, but we're going to keep things simple for the stream because this is already hard enough. Doing this in public. We'll get there. See, I can't even type. Okay, so now we need this button to do stuff. So on click, we're going to say do stuff. But we shouldn't name it that. We should name it start login because that's a better name for the function. All right, we'll put some JavaScript in this component on this page and say, okay, start login is a function. What does it need to do? Start login is a function. That's an async function. And we'll prevent default just so we don't get any surprise behaviors when we click buttons. Sometimes you can do page loads and stuff if you're in a form. All right. Okay. How do we log in though? A button is nice. A button that calls a callback. It's not revolutionary, it's just regular style. How do we do this? Okay, so we're going to use this client library from Inrupt. Inrupt has done a lot of work with Solid. They're okay. They're Tim Berners-Lee's company, and they make, oh shoot, what was that? This only works on certain versions of Node for some reason. It's not, my favorite, but it works okay. So we're going to install this client library through npm. Now we start the server again. And we're going to use this to do the sort of like back and forth code. And here you can see that we go from the app to the provider, back to the app. We call a couple of functions to do it all up. And you can do this by hand. We've written some documentation about how to do this without the client application, but it works pretty good. So we'll grab this login function from the client lib, drop that into our auth page. We just need the login function here. I don't think we need the get default session right now. Get rid of that. Okay. And the login takes a params object that looks like that. Okay, so start login, we run our login function. So these bits we put in our env variables because they need to be, environment specific. So we can use the SvelteKit way of doing that, which is import them from env /static because they don't change, they're the same all the time, /public because they're not private, they can go in the browser, that's okay. Okay, so now we have the env vars, we'll put those in here. Let's see, which one goes where? We'll start with the client ID one, which will be the public client ID. You don't need one of these, but because there's like different ways you can log in, but for the way that we're doing it, you do need one of these. So we'll use that. The public provider is the OpenID Connect issuer. The redirect URL, we'll just put that back to root to start with. This can be a little bit more sophisticated, but like I said, we'll do it later. Unsophisticated for life, or at least for streams. Okay, so we'll redirect to auth confirm and give it a better client name. Bucket change. Great. Great. Okay, does this work? Let's find out. Oh, the cuckoo clock's going, sorry. Okay. Sign in. It didn't work. Oh, it did work. Okay, here it is. So here is the UI for the login screen for Solid ID, and we hit authorize, and it takes us back to auth.confirm, which is 404ing because we didn't make that page yet. So that's the next step. Let's make that page. All right, auth confirm, new file, page.svelte. Okay, so this will say logging in. This is sort of an interstitial page. It doesn't need a whole lot of UI, but it's nice to have a loading state. Okay, and we authorize and we go back to logging in. All right, now we actually need to do something about that. What do we do after that? You call this handle incoming redirect. Now, we want to do that not just on the auth confirm page. You want to do that on any page load because of some of the ways that they've structured this client library means that they don't persist the auth information anywhere, and you got to call that every time you do it. So Svelte has this cool little hook here called init, And we're going to put that in the hooks.client.js file, and that's going to run this function every time the app starts up for the first time. Okay, so let's create that file, hooks.client.js. Here it is. Init. I'm not typescripting, so get that out of there. And we'll just look at this, make sure that it runs once in the browser on page load. A fresh application startup. And there you can see it. Okay, hello from a fresh application startup. And if we navigate page to page, that all happens client side and doesn't run the init because we already initted one time. So in here, we can put that function handle incoming redirect. Where was that? There it is. Easy. Simple. Simple, simple, simple. Okay. So, what was I doing? Right. Okay. Right. It was so simple, I forgot what I was doing. So we'll put this in here with a little comment. Now, there is one other thing we need to think about when we are doing this, which is that we need to add one more thing in here. We can't just call this by itself, but we need to put this option in which says restore session true. And this means that if we're logged in and then we do a hard refresh of the application, it will put us back where we were. It will log us back in again. Okay, this is a little frustrating that the client libraries work this way because it privileges SPAs instead of like actual apps, but whatever. Okay, so we log in. Okay, so we log in. We authorize the application. We go back to the auth page, and it, set up our session. But we didn't do anything with that yet because we need to attach it to our state. We need to attach the session to the state so we can render the application correctly. And that's going to happen in the callback phase. All right, so in here, we will use this onMount method, which is sort of a lifecycle hook. So it doesn't run on the server when we try to generate it. It only runs in the client because that's where all our auth is. It's all client-side auth. There's no auth on the server anywhere. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to attach the auth session to the svelte state. And how do we do that? Good question. We need to get the default session from interrupt, which is going to be like a big old complicated object. There's all sorts of stuff in there. And we can then stick stuff, call methods off of that default session and listen for things like, did we log in? Did we change state? Do we have an authenticated fetch provider that we can use to make privileged calls with? Things like that. Things of that nature. Also more, I don't know what's all in there. We're learning as we go. So we'll grab our set session. We'll set up our blank session. And then we'll get some more functions out of this library, which is, most importantly, get default session. How do you spell that? Okay, like that. Get default session. Great. So onMount will turn our session into the default session. Like that. Ta-da! And then we will listen for an event. So when stuff happens with our session, it will emit events on this object. So various event types, and then it will call a callback, like when event happens, run this function. So the one that we're going to be looking for is, there's a callback in there. Now they've have one of these patterns where they put all of their strings in a object like that. I don't like this pattern, but it's not my choice, not my library, or whatever. So on the session restored event, we're going to call the callback, which is going to get the session that we have and attach it to our state. Like that, easy peasy. This also is going to mutate the session, which I also think is annoying, but whatever. It's fine. So we'll set the session to the session object, and we should be good to go. Maybe we can like log it or something, see what's actually in there. Okay. Okay. Does it work? Let's try. Log in, sign in, authenticate the app, authorize. Yep, that's good. Logging in. Well, that callback, attach auth to the felt state on mount, that worked, but the callback didn't run. Restore true. I don't know what happened. Is this running? Are we handling the handler? Gotta handle the handler. Okay. Is this doing anything? Oh, it worked. Why'd that work? Let's investigate here. Live on stream. Things go wrong. Okay. Event session restored. Are we using the right event? Yeah, there it is. Session restored. Maybe login or new tokens. Seemed to work okay. Why did it work? Check the session. Oh, there it is. No, it's false. Okay. No, hold on. Info, logged in, true. Oh, we're already logged in? Let's do a hard refresh. Logged in, true. Okay. Maybe this is even easier than I thought. Logged in, true. All right. Do we need this at all? We're not even calling that. It's just like happening in the init handler. Just restoring the session. So if it's not calling the event, maybe we just check if we're logged in, and if we are logged in, we attach it to the felt state. Should we try that? Let's try that. Seems easy enough. All right. Get rid of these consoles, turning those. And turn this off for a little bit here. Get on that. Okay. If we're logged in, then set session. All right, let's try that. Log. Let's see. Okay. What are we doing? All right. This should maybe work. Okay, and then we're going to do a redirect. So after we log in and set the session, we're going to use this navigation pattern, go to, another SpellKit thing, go to. It is a sort of a built-in function for sending the application to new pages. Programmatically navigate to a given route. Okay, so we'll put that in. We log in, we set our session. Let's go back to the page, the home page, or in their app page, so where their app is actually going to be at. All right, let's try it. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! What's going on? Oh, infinite loop. At 404 to logging in to 40. Oh my god! Oh my god! What happened? That's not right. That's not supposed to do that. Okay. Do we stop it? Okay, we stopped it. Whew. All right. Well, that didn't work. That was weird. What's next? Maybe we do need this. Maybe we flew too close to the sun. All right, let's put that back in there. All the notes and documentation suggest that we do need that, so maybe we are not smarter than Inrupt, even though we like to think we are. Okay, try that. Sign in. Authorize the application. Redirect here, and then 404 to app, which is good, but we are logged in false. We should be logged in true. Okay, well, turn that off. Logged in false. Log in. Sign in. There we go. Authorize. Handling. Logged in true. Oh, okay, great. That seemed to actually work now. So let's put that go-to back in maybe, and we'll just go to the home page until we have an app page. I didn't like that 404 infinite loop. That was a downer. Okay, so we'll set the session. Oh, look at that. Log out. That worked. We log in, logging in, log out. Okay, we did it. Great. It worked. Are we sure it worked? I don't trust it. Yeah, okay. Maybe we just need it. Maybe that is all we need. It was that 404 causing the problem. All right, let's go ahead and make that app page in the first place so we're not going to be 404ing for the rest of our lives. All right, page inside of the app, like that. Give it a title, like that. Logged in pocket change. And now, after we figure out the authentication stuff, we'll figure out how to do access control stuff. But start here. Okay. And then app. That's real. Okay, great. Now, let's change that go-to handler again. So we go inside the app as opposed to back to the home page. Okay, app. Go to /app. All right. Is this everything? Logging in. Logged in. Oh, we did it. Okay, it worked. Oh, we did it. This is great. And we stay logged in through page navigations, and there it is. Now, like I said, we'll figure out access control later because anybody can just go to that and see the app page, but we'll figure it out. Let's put a note to ourselves so we don't forget about that. Prevent. Because you don't want to have, you want to put a 404 in, like not a 404, a 401, unauthorized. Can neither confirm nor deny the existence of this page. Okay. So one of the things we do in trunk-based development is we test to make sure it works the way we think it do before we push. Very important. So here we are, incognito. We are logged out. App, you can see that we can touch the app screen. That's okay. All right. Let's go ahead and push all this to main. Get it on production. See if it works there too. Now, normally, you would actually start putting in test suites and stuff if you're pushing to main all the time. We're not doing that. We're just going to go for it. We did it with our eyeballs and our hands. We are the test suite. All right, push to main. That will kick off a deployment. Should we go check on that maybe? So this, I think, is kind of cool. I think it's neat that we can sign into applications that are purely client-side applications. It's sort of like Jamstack Plus. Let's go see how our build's doing. Let's see who's in the channel too while we're waiting around. Nobody. Just us. That's okay. It's just me and you, playback viewers. Alright. That build is deploying. Okay. And that should be on prod. Let's take a look. There's our login button. We'll press login. We'll sign in with Solid ID. We will authorize the application. We're logging in and we're logged in. We did it. It worked on production. First try. Trunk-based development for the win. Take that, meme. Okay. So now we got some time left on the stream. Let's see if we can figure out this access control thing. The first way we could do it is a little simple, maybe a little naive. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But we'll create a layout svelte wrapper for our whole application. And that'll look a lot like this original layout svelte where it just renders anything inside of there. And though this layout svelte is going to apply to any pages under the app route. So we can figure out how to control it here, and then it will control for everything underneath it. Okay. 401. If you're not logged in, 401. I am logged in only. Okay. Now we'll pull in our svelte state object here and conditionally render the DOM depending on your state. like client session from that file that we put in there, session.svelte.js. Okay. We'll put another if block in here. Let's just actually see what it is first. Are we logged in? I'm a great believer in the console log and the mark element. True. Okay, we're logged in. True. What happens if we're not logged in? No true. Great. So now we can use that to determine what our DOM should be. If we're logged in, show the children. If we're not logged in, 401, you're not invited. Okay, there it is, 401, logging in, logged in, you can see the app, great. Incognito, app 401. Perfect. Now, I think that'll be fine, but let's also put some work into the initial load logic. So when this page loads, it will run like a server-side function to understand what DOM it should put over the wire. Let's move some of this logic upstream a little bit to make sure that it happens on the server, to be really sure that we're not putting anything over the wire to unauthenticated users who do not have access to this page. All right, so we're gonna use this error function from SvelteKit again. And that's in svelte.js/kit. We'll pull that into our page function, our layout page function. Okay, svelte.js/kit. All right, that's right. And then we'll do the same logic, but in JavaScript when we are compiling the response. If no client session data info is logged in, that is, you are not for sure logged in, throw an error 401 at the HTTP level. You want anything else? You put a body in there. You put a message, tell you what's going on, but whatever, it's 401. All right. Let's try that. Ta-da! It shows a 500 and then a 401, but that seems fine. We'll figure that out later. But it is throwing a 401. It's not even rendering the page at all anymore, which is exactly what we wanted to do. Great. So there you have it. Authentication and access control. Let's trunk-based develop that to production, where you all can look at it from the comfort of your own browsers. All right, 401 auth checking. Okay. And there it goes. All right. That was fun. That was a little bit longer. Thanks for everyone who was tuned in live. You can check that out. We'll put links in the video description. We had some words with YouTube about what it counts to be a real human, which apparently I'm not, but we'll figure it out. They'll let us put some links in because I'm not a spam bot. I'm not a robot. I'm like the opposite of a robot. I'm like a, I don't know what's the opposite of a robot. A toe bore. That needs workshopping. Okay. Anyway, thank you all so much. We will see you next week, next Thursday, for part 3, where we will look at create, read, update, delete.